Welcome. And I'd like to introduce my colleague, Kirsty Smith, and I'm going to let her explain a little bit about her role and position within Jolly Learning as she is new and wonderful, and you'll be seeing us together in all the webinars. So Kirsty, over to you.
Hi everyone. Yes, I'm Kirsty. I've just joined Jolly Learning as head of marketing. And what we're trying to do with this series of new webinars is kind of dive a little bit into some of the different areas of Jolly Phonics, and really give you in kind of a nice, concise 30-minute format, some really practical tips and strategies for you to use in the classroom. So thank you for joining today. As you're coming in, please do say hello on the chat and let us know where you are joining from. We're going to get going straight away today, so we've got lots to pack in. We are recording the session and this will be shared with everybody afterwards. We'll also be sharing a handout with you as well, which will summarise what we covered today. Um, if you have any questions, we're going to save some time for Q&A at the end. So do put those into the Q&A space, which you should be able to find just at the bottom of your screen. And we'll put some of these questions to Yvonne at the end to answer. But yeah, I can see lots of you are in and getting involved already. So I'll pass over to Yvonne to kick off.
And as always, it's wonderful to see you all and some familiar names and colleagues as well. Hi, Annette in Australia. You're up late, so thank you very, very much, everybody. And we've got Coral from Spain and Argentina. It's absolutely lovely to see you all. So I'm going to go straight into it because, as Kirsty said, we only have half an hour and it really is a packed half an hour. So I'm just going to share, and Kirsty, if you can let me know if everything looks all right once we go into share. Um,
Yeah, it's just
here we
loading
go.
in.
Right, we're just going to go into present mode. And of course, the handbook, and we love the handbook. The handbook is one of those resources that have been around for a very, very long time, but we sometimes forget how brilliant it is. So within this, like half an hour, I'm going to talk, highlight about how great it is alongside using it with the core Jolly Phonics program, or how you can use it in early years and onwards. But let's get going so that you can have a look. So the session today is a great opportunity to explore the handbook and what we have in it, and also diversify the uses for it because you can use it as a standalone resource or you can add it to your existing resources. The supplementary work, working with students who may be requiring some additional help while struggling on a point and even with send. And I have packed in a few little activities at the end that I used when I was teaching with it, and they were endless. And I'm going to show you how one activity can be diversified into so many ways. And by the end of the session, it will be wonderful that you will see just how well you can use the handbook across the ages and stages, what you can get from it. Also, the inclusion of the 3 steps of Jolly Phonics, which align with the core program. And as I said, just a sneaky peek at a couple of activities. And when you see these activities, you will think, yeah, I can adapt that and I can use that page and that activity and do this and that. So that's what this webinar is about, is to get that activity out there, reused, because we teachers, we love laminating, but we don't want to do it every single year with activities. Now briefly, Jolly Phonics. Why use Jolly Phonics? It's a multi-sensory program that children can learn phonemic awareness, literacy foundation, and it's a pathway to higher level literacy skills that come with all the resources that are layered so that each step of the way the children are practicing what they have learned. They're also getting that new sound or new concept. And as you can read there, there's a lot of research to support Jolly Phonics, and it's had some rigorous testing by the Department of Education to be a validated program. But more than anything, it is a program that can fit the pace of your teaching. We don't want it too slow, because if it's too slow, the children won't be able to put all those essential sounds together. And you don't want it too fast that they'll forget either. So the great thing about it, it comes with lesson plans and scope and sequence. And as you can see, the materials are all there to support that flight path the children have with their learning journey. But also we've got our lovely handbook, which is kind of like a self unit that has everything you need as well. So this is the diversity of using the Jolly programs, in that if you're on a budget, you can have the handbook, but there's more you can use as well. So the program 42 sounds, which you can see are broken into some groups. And as you can see, the 7 groups go from quite simple sounds to complex ones. And this is the trajectory that the children have with the program. But the great thing is with the program, is we're developing those early phonemic awareness skills through blending and segmenting these single sounds before they move on to the more complex ones. This is an important journey that shouldn't be rushed. And we have 3 steps to do it in, where they have the foundation knowledge, then we're layering on more knowledge, and then we're getting them to the point where they've got reading and writing skills in place. These transitional skills are so important to move on to literacy. But as you can see, we also have, tricky things like diagraphs, and these move on to alternative sounds. So this is why it's important, if you're going to start the program, you start it with fidelity and understand how the 5 key skills fit in. These skills are there from the very beginning, except for the tricky words that come in at group 6. But as you can see, children are learning all these different strands, but it's supporting that next level and the next level and the next level, in that we are getting blending and segmenting in place, letter formation, and all this is done really well in the handbook in a simple black and white version that children love. So you can see we've got all the basics in place for you. That's what we wanted. But let's have a look at the programs as a complete umbrella. And you can see that we have the phonics and classroom and assessments that are nicely packed for children who are starting their journey. And then they can make the transition to literacy and all of the sequences above that. But we are going to look at how the handbook fits in with this side. You can have it as a standalone unit to do the program. It can complement using Jolly Phonics with the 3 Pupils books for additional activities and support. You might need that within your class. Also, Jolly Classroom, which is the digital component, offers additional activities. Also offers a different way for children to interpret that information. And digital literacy is part of what children need to know, but we don't want to overdo that. So we understand there's a balance. And the essential assessment, which if we want children to be successful with their reading and writing skills, we've got to make sure there's no gaps. So you can imagine we're providing you with this wonderful spiral of resources and knowledge to help children. And along with the teacher's book and the handbook and all those wonderful resources, we're looking at how the plans are put together. And you can see multisensory is the reason why it's such a successful program. And within the handbook, you will find that we have a lot of games and activities that extend this concept, because certainly with young children, we understand that this is their first point of learning, the engagement that they have. But also we understand that too much engagement with not core learning can be a problem as well. So it's about getting that balance right, and that's what you'll find in the handbook. Each lesson is looking at the content you can see on the slide. But more than anything, we don't know with very young children what their learning style is. So we are teaching one concept in a variety of ways to make sure children are immersed in that learning journey or that learning moment. And this is something that gives you the variety using the handbook and also the Jolly Phonics program, is the activities that can support and wrap around that core learning. So we have these 2 resources that you may be very familiar with. We have the teacher's book and also the handbook. And both of them are very similar in some ways, in that they have a great introduction on the how and the why. And this is important because if you are only using Jolly Phonics for the first time, you may need to have that comprehensive understanding of why the program really works. And then apart from that, the lesson plans as well to help you understand the pace and sequence of how the teaching is. As you gather more and more knowledge using the program, your dependency on the book will be to make sure, am I doing it the right way? But also what you will find with the lesson plans is there's a lot of repetition, but there's also new concepts that are coming in. So let's have a quick look at what the teacher's book has. The teacher's book does support phonics books 1, 2, and 3. And you can see that these support the daily lesson plans or the lesson plans, which come to support the story and also the activities that go with that. So the book itself is more of a guide on how to teach around using the book. It also gives, I'll move on because we've got a lovely example here, as you can see. So you can see it gives you an illustration of the page. It also has the answers or examples of what you would desire from that page, how to get started and how to finish off. So there's lots of differences on the pages, but there's also similar things, which is how your lesson is structured. But let's have a look at the handbook because this is what we really want to investigate. So there we go. This is, you can see, I wanted to show you the differentiation of the pages. You can see that they are brightly colored. They are requiring a different skill set in the order of the way the pages are put together. But let's have a look at the handbook. So the handbook is offering the same direction with the program. We are covering the 42 sounds. We are doing the 3 steps, but it's all in one big book. And also we have lots of photocopies that can be used to support each stage and each step. And I would recommend that with both programs or any of the programs that we use, a word bank or a word book, to support you and know what words can be used at each stage for blending, segmenting, or dictation. So you can see that they're very similar in that way. But if we go inside and have a look at the page for the teaching, you can see it's very clear. It's at a glance. We have the sequence of how the lessons are being organized. And what I would say is that the authors, Sue Lloyd and Sarah Wernham, have done it this way for a reason, that we're getting the revision in, getting the action in, we're getting the multisensory use in before we get to the teaching point. So you don't change this order too much because it works. And you will see that as children move on, when you're only revising 6 sounds, that's quite easy. But when you're revising 36 sounds, you can't revise every single one. So there are strategies in the book to support you with that. And also what you will find is that on the left of this screen, you can see all the things we are doing, which look very, very familiar to what we do with the core Jolly Phonics program, but we're using the handbook. So in that way, you can see that they're very similar, except it doesn't have the page as in the teacher's book. And if we do look at the activity page, you will see it is more amplified. You will see that the black and white is less fussy. Also, there's a reduction on the handwriting component because often the handbook is used with young learners or remedial classes. And we do have blending and segmenting and visual cues for blending and segmenting. This does appeal to young learners because, as you can see in comparison, the pupils book can be used easily from children who may be from 4 or 5 upwards. It's all about cognitive ability, and this clear black and white structure is great for young learners. So I would suggest that if you are thinking about a gentle introduction to phonics, the handbook is a great way to use in nursery, and also the activities can support in either way what you do with young learners and additionally what you do with old children. So you can see it's a wonderful way to get children immersed into that learning journey with the phonemic awareness. Now, on the slide here, you will see how it is used. And for many years, it was the only resource that we had. It was the Bible of phonics. We went into class with our handbook and it had all the games, it had the resources, it had things for support, it had those domino games or letter sounds that supported those struggling students. And also the plans can adapt to your teaching. And one thing we know from the feedback that we have from schools is that it has slowed down. Children who are joining schools have a different level to maybe 5 years ago. Also, we have to embrace that English as a second language means that we are spending time on vocabulary acquisition. And as a flexible teaching tool with budgets, the handbook may be everything you need until you can have that wish list with the budget where you can buy additional things. And it's a manual that you will have, a handbook that you'll have, and you'll find it hard to give up, even if you're using the core Jolly Phonics resources. But more than anything about that is the clarity of the pages. We do think that having the multisensory approach where children are given time to use their manipulatives, build up that skill, hand-to-eye coordination, fine motor skills, they all come together for where children move on to letter sound recognition and these beautiful black and white tiles that you can photocopy, laminate, finger tracking, evaluation, even putting together for gentle blending and segmenting as they pull down these tiles, a great way to be used. And the image on the right, I laminated that and had these for years where we would use them over and over again with new classes where children would learn, if they were English as a second language, the visual cue, the word with a whiteboard pen, do the dictation, and we'd wipe it clean. It was a resource that got used year in and year out. And then we just put it back in the folder. These reusable resources are ones that can be used not only for that class, but as I keep saying, in different areas, but they are highly effective in their simplicity. But equally, as we move on, look at the concepts that we're doing. Now, in the chat, does anyone recognize what these are? Let's see if we can recognize what they are in the chat. Does anyone name them, Kirsty?
Not yet.
Oh, what are they? We've got or, and or. Let's see if anyone's got them right. Okay, I'm going to sneak in the answer. Anyone put the answer? They're alternative sounds. So as you can see with the slide where we had the 42 sounds, where we had the short vowels, the long vowels, we're now moving on to the alternative sounds. And as you can see, although the book looks very simplistic in its way, we do move on to those complex spellings and it goes on. So again, it can be used very thoroughly to support the trajectory of the program. So there we go. Now, I did think about in the short time we had, what could I show you that could be lifted out of the handbook? There are so many activities, and I wanted to show you ones that you could say, okay, that's the activity, and I can give you at least three different ways of using them. And ones that I have used in the classroom, and I know they work, and I've gone back to not only to be with one class, but later on, it would send and other areas. So let's have a look. As you can see, this is a page. Now look at this page. We have initial sound. We have the phonemes. The children can finger track these. We have a context word, and they know these, the beginning sounds, but they're learning that and also the visual cue. And as you can see here, we'll do it again. It will play.
Sun. And this one? What does this one say? 10. Oh, well done. And where's the sun? Can you find the picture of the sun? That's it. You get a picture of the sun? Oh, that's fantastic.
So there we go, simple, but we in the class they keep going back to these games to play together. The more confidence they have, the more they can move on with using these. Now, this is a familiar page, isn't it? Because it's also in the pupils books. Now, look at this. Now, I remember looking at this page thinking, I can get more out of this page. And now think about this from the Phonics Handbook as something that you can also incorporate into other activities. So the images are colored. They have been colored for a reason, but first I'm going to start with looking at the sentences. This page was laminated. So laminating this page and perforating where the dots are at the end of the sentences here with a piece of string or a bit of string in every perforation here, it was another way for children to read what they could see and join up with the piece of string. How unusual is that? But also, if I said to them, I can see a hen. I say, what color is the hen? It's yellow. Now put that in the sentence. I can see a yellow hen. So children are learning about extending a sentence. So we are doing this orally. So children are practicing and practicing. This oracy is really important before they move on. So here we could talk about, let's see, the oak tree is tall. What color is the oak tree? It's a green oak tree. So you can imagine we can extend the sentence out. So another thing that I can do is cover up the cues there, the visual cues. I can go back and reverse how this is being used, this activity is being used, so that children are using their decoding skills, their reading skills, they're identifying the tricky words. So having done that, what we are doing, I've got another set over here where the children, if they've read it, I can see a hen, her beak is yellow. They can then pick up the right image to put. So you can see, you can just get these photocopies and use them in all different ways. And if we look at the last activity on the right, the images are free. The sentences are all cut up. So then it's a matching game. Again, it's using skills of visual awareness, reading, matching up. Does it make sense? Because remember, we've got two parts of the sentence. And a bit later on, I could take this activity out for literacy and have connectors, the oak tree is tall and its leaves are green. So if you think of the handbook activities being used in a lot of different ways and different levels, you can go back and get to use them for different concepts. And with this particular page, I've given you at least 2 or 3 ideas of what you could do with the string, with the reverse, with their reading, also looking at the visual cues. If we move on to the next activity I used to do, very similar to something in the pupils book. In the pupils book, these have colors. So I've given each sentence a color, and you will see why for a reason. When I first did this in the class, the children got really quite good and organized at working out the visual cues. And I wanted it to be a little bit challenging because it was a one-dimensional activity. So here we have, again, things are colored in. We've got the sentences colored in. So what did I do? Let's have a look. And as you can see here, I have cut up the sentences similar to the other one, but you're going to see where this goes to. And they have to organize these. So they're making a connection, listening, reading, comprehension, making a connection to the visual cue. And as you can see, there's a lot going on here where children are working in pairs, collaboratively, or support. Now, if you're thinking of using this as a support activity, evaluation, what is the child reading? Are they recognizing the tricky words? Of course, you have to give an activity that covers the sounds and the tricky words the children have done. You can't go too far ahead. So now you can see similar to what we have done, but now I'm going to change it into a far more challenging activity. I've cut up the words within each colored strip. Now, the fact we have the colors means that the children can organize that sentence back together again. And they have an understanding that we have a capital letter and a full stop. Now, the skill is organizing the words within that colored strip so it makes sense. This is where we're looking at children's skills progressing. And even if it's English as a second language, they will begin to hear it doesn't sound right. So that is one skill. And the colors support a self-checking mechanism. Additionally, if I want to move on, we can add adjectives. And I may not explicitly name them, but if I went into literacy, I could take this activity and use it to support my literacy class. And as you can see, the soap is on the pink dish. We are building up and building up skills. But the good thing is going back to an activity that a child has previously done puts them in a place, a safe place to extend the activity because they partially know what is required of them. But I've given them that unpredictable element of changing what I want from them. And another one that is really good, I realize the time, is this one, which is very similar to a lot of things that we see, is I've cut up the picture And I'm going to have 4 copies of this so that I have them in 4 groups, laminated. I want to develop oracy. I want children to speak. I want them to communicate about what they see. So the questions here are ones that are going to promote answers. They're going to talk about it. There's going to be cross-curricular themes and experiences. But all of this is layering the foundations for good writing skills as we move on. Talking points and questions. And then much later on, once they've built up this skill, answering the questions comes easily because they have a phonemic awareness. They are not being put in a position that they can't write something. If they want to write something they really don't know, they will use that skill to be able to put those letters together to make it sound right. So as you can see, there's a lot here for the children to do. Now, Kirsty, I think I've managed to give you 5 minutes at the end for any questions. So I'll come out of the stop share because that was a whistle stop tour of what we can do. And have we got any questions? Let's have a look before we run out of time.
Yes, we had one about the activity that you shared from page 215.
Yeah.
And so that was a comment from Aisha saying that a lot of the students really enjoyed working on that page, but did we have any advice if there were maybe some students who took a little bit longer or became stuck?
Yeah, and is that that particular page? I think it's the one I recommended with the string. Maybe we can put that in a follow-up, do a demo of how that works. I think once we've got to the end of this webinar, you can see how any activity doesn't have to be in that format. And that's the great thing of having the handbook. I was given the handbook in just before 2000, and that was all we had. So we had to be creative. Now, if you hopefully, whoever gave that question, having seen the activities after that one, you will see the possibilities of looking at that activity and thinking about how to do it in 3 different ways. It doesn't always have to involve writing. It can be oracy, it can be using manipulatives. And we have some here. Let's have a look. How many sounds would you learn in a week? Wow, I think Kirsty would agree. Our general feedback at the moment about sounds is anything from 3 to 4 with one consolidation day. That generally is what's happening in the UK. And the slow learner, this is where you have to amend your lessons. It's really good that you have identified a slow learner, but think about when you are starting your class, what can you build in for that slow learner to pick up? What can you revise? Because you don't want to lose the momentum of your whole class because you have a small proportion of them who may need reinforcement. And also, what reinforcement are you providing? If you get the reinforcement done well enough at the beginning, there'll be no gaps later on. Provide some, oh, here we go. We've got some good one here. Provide some activities for slow learners. Kirsty, that could be a really good blog post.
Yes.
Yeah. And let's have a look. Kindly share the slides. Did they get a recording, Kirsty?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll be sharing a recording probably first thing tomorrow with everyone. We'll also be sharing a handout which will just summarise everything that Yvonne has taken us through. And we'll also be sharing a discount code where if you've really enjoyed what you've seen in the handbook and it's not something you've used before, you'll be able to get 20% off if you purchase that through one of our stores. So we'll share that shortly. But yes, we will be sending it through.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is you will see how this ties into the next webinar, which will support early learning goals. And as there is a lot of focus on children having phonemic awareness at nursery stage before they go into reception class UK, it's understanding how the handbook can facilitate and support that as a gentle way into the full program. So we have got a handout, and it's been absolutely wonderful to be able to share. And I often feel I can't even give enough. All this years of experiences there. And we are really looking forward to having you at the next webinar where we can really expand on where we've left off today and look forward to more questions from you. Thank you, Annette. It's lovely, your support. Thank you. Okay. So,
and just to say as well, we did have a couple of questions that we didn't get to, but I've
yeah.
taken a note of those, and we will contact you individually with responses to those. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, and see you on the 23rd of July.